Comment down below what country and/or city you're watching from, and subscribe for videos like this daily. Also, check out my other channel link in the bio if you like drama revenge narratives. You won't regret it. I never thought I'd catch a neighbor committing fraud right in my own driveway. But life has a way of surprising you, especially when you live next door to Gertrude Hollister. The day started like any other Tuesday. I was enjoying my morning coffee before heading to my law office downtown when my phone buzzed with a fraud alert from my bank. Apparently, someone had just attempted to make a $780 payment to Allstate Insurance using my Platinum MX. The transaction had been flagged as suspicious since I've used State Farm for the last decade. That's odd, I muttered, immediately calling the fraud department. After verifying the transaction was indeed unauthorized, they promised to overnight a replacement card and closed my compromised account. Problem solved, or so I thought. Later that evening, I pulled my Lamborghini Urus into the driveway of my home on Oakage Lane. I'd worked hard for that car, 15 years of 60-hour weeks building my practice from the ground up, specializing in corporate law and watching my investments grow. The silver SUV gleamed under the setting sun, and I couldn't help but feel a surge of pride as I stepped out onto the concrete. That's when I heard it. That unmistakable voice that made everyone in our gated community of Evergreen Estates cringe. Well, look who's home, driving around in that fancy car while honest people can't even afford their bills. Gertrude Hollister, Gertie to no one because nobody liked her enough for nicknames, stood at the edge of my property line, arms crossed over her black tracksuit. At 67, she had the energy of someone half her age, especially when it came to complaining or sticking her nose where it didn't belong. "Good evening, Mrs. Hollister," I said politely, retrieving my briefcase from the passenger seat. My father had always taught me to be respectful to elders, even the difficult ones. "Don't good evening me, Daryl Thompson. I know what you people are like flaunting your money." She gestured wildly at my home, my car, and seemingly my entire existence. I took a deep breath. After dealing with hostile corporate negotiations all day, the last thing I needed was my racist neighbor's commentary. But something caught my eye. There, clutched in her right hand, was a credit card. Not just any credit card, but one with a distinctive blue and silver design of the exact MX that had been compromised earlier. My brain connected the dots instantly. The fraud alert, the insurance payment, Gertrude's ancient Buick I'd seen getting, towed last week for expired registration. And now, my credit card in her hand. "Mrs. Hollister," I said carefully, "is that my credit card you're holding?" Her face contorted into an expression of pure indignation. "What? How dare you accuse me of theft? This is my card. Then you wouldn't mind showing me the name on it?" I stepped closer, maintaining a calm demeanor developed from years of courtroom experience. Gertrude backed up, clutching the card to her chest. "I don't have to show you anything. This is harassment." By now, my next-door neighbor on the other side, Dr. Raymond Jackson, had emerged from his home, curious about the commotion. "Everything okay over here, Daryl?" "Ray, perfect timing. Mrs. Hollister here appears to have my stolen credit card, the one that someone tried to use for an insurance payment this morning." Gertrude's eyes widened, darting between Raymond and me. "That's a lie. I found this card on the sidewalk. I was just coming to return it. Found it on the sidewalk, yet knew it was mine to return." I raised an eyebrow. "Interesting how you didn't mention that when you first saw me. You people always assume the worst. I was being a good neighbor." Her voice had reached that pitch that made neighborhood dogs start howling. Raymond, ever the diplomatic pediatrician, tried to intervene. "Why don't we all just calm down, and I'm calling the police?" Gertrude screeched, pulling out her phone. "I'm being attacked by this man. He's threatening me." I couldn't help but laugh, which only inflamed her further. "Please, go ahead and call them. In fact, I insist." What Gertrude didn't know, what she couldn't possibly have known in her entitled bubble, was that my wife, Aisha Thompson, wasn't just any police officer. She was Captain Aisha Thompson, head of the Financial Crimes Division of our city's police department. And Gertrude was about to learn a very expensive lesson about making assumptions. Gertrude's fingers trembled as she dialed 911, her face contorted in that special kind of rage reserved for people who've been caught red-handed but refuse to admit it. I stood calmly, arms folded across my chest, watching this theater of the absurd unfold on my own front lawn. "Yes, emergency. I need police at 4872 Oakage Lane immediately," she shrieked into her phone. "I'm being threatened by a man. Yes, in Evergreen Estates. He's accusing me of stealing and threatening me." Dr. Jackson shot me a concerned look, but I gave him a reassuring nod. I dealt with the Gertrudes of the world my entire life. From prep, school to Harvard Law to the corporate boardrooms of America. White women's tears had lost their power over me long ago. "They're sending officers right away," Gertrude announced triumphantly, shoving her phone back into her tracksuit pocket. The credit card, my credit card, had mysteriously disappeared from view. "You'll be sorry you ever moved into this neighborhood. Mr. Big Shot Lawyer, this is a respectable community." By respectable, I assume you mean exclusively white until 5 years ago when we bought in. I kept my tone conversational, which I knew would infuriate her more than anger. "That has nothing to do with anything. I'm not racist. I voted for Obama." The classic defense. "This is about you accusing a defenseless elderly woman of theft." "Defenseless?" I chuckled. "Mrs. Hollister, you've terrorized the neighborhood association for years. You got the Patel's Garden Gnomes banned for cultural inconsistency, whatever that means. And last summer you called security on my 9-year-old daughter's lemonade stand because she didn't have a permit." Dr. Jackson nodded. "You also reported my wife for suspicious behavior when she was just jogging past your house." "That's different. She was looking at my windows." Gertrude was working herself into a proper frenzy now. "She's an architectural designer," Dr. Jackson said. "She looks at everyone's windows." Gertrude waved dismissively. "The police will sort this all out." "They know me here. I'm friends with Chief Wilson's wife from book club." I smiled at that. Chief Wilson's wife, Marlene, had indeed mentioned a nightmare book club lady who kept suggesting they read All Lives Matter, a memoir, and complained that Toni Morrison was too urban for their group. The connection wasn't going to work in Gertrude's favor. In the distance, a police cruiser turned onto our street, lights flashing, but no siren. Gertrude's posture changed immediately, shoulders back, chin up, a look of victorious vindication spreading across her face. "Finally, Justice," she proclaimed. The cruiser pulled up to the curb, and I felt a surge of pride as my wife stepped out, her captain's uniform crisp and her expression professionally neutral. At 38, Aisha carried herself with the confidence of someone who'd broken barriers in a tough profession. Behind her, a younger officer emerged from the passenger side. "Oh, Captain!" Gertrude's voice shifted to a syrupy sweetness that made my stomach turn. "Thank goodness you're here. Your husband is making terrible accusations against me." Aisha's eyes flicked between Gertrude and me, betraying nothing. "Mrs. Hollister, I presume. I'm Captain Thompson. This is Officer Chen. What seems to be the issue here?" Before Gertrude could launch into her performance, I spoke up. "Captain, this morning someone used my MX card to pay for Allstate insurance. The bank flagged it and closed the account. Just now, I observed Mrs. Hollister holding what appears to be that same compromised card." Aisha nodded. "All business. Mrs. Hollister, do you have a credit card in your possession that doesn't belong to you?" "Absolutely not." Gertrude clutched. Her pearls. Actual pearls with a tracksuit, if you can believe it. "I was simply returning a card I found on the sidewalk when your husband began harassing me." "So you do have someone else's card?" Officer Chen clarified, pulling out his notepad. Gertrude faltered. "Well, that's not... I was being a good Samaritan. May I see the card, please?" Aisha extended her hand. The change in Gertrude's demeanor was instant and dramatic. I don't have it anymore. I must have dropped it." "Mrs. Hollister," Aisha said, her voice carrying that special authority that made criminals confess daily. "Tampering with evidence is a serious offense. If you've discarded the card, that complicates matters significantly." "I haven't discarded anything. There's been a misunderstanding." Gertrude's voice had climbed at least an octave. She took a step backward, then another. In fact, I need to go home now. I'm feeling unwell. We can discuss this tomorrow. Actually, we need to resolve this now, Aisha replied. Officer Chen, would you please check the perimeter? See if the card was dropped anywhere in the vicinity? As Chen began scanning the ground, Gertrude's right hand instinctively moved toward her tracksuit pocket. Aisha, missing nothing, noted the movement immediately. Mrs. Hollister, is there something in your pocket you'd like to share with us? Gertrude's hand froze halfway to her pocket, her eyes darting like a cornered animal. The sunset cast long shadows across my driveway as this bizarre standoff continued, neighborhood curtains twitching with curiosity all around us. I don't appreciate being treated like a criminal on my own street, Gertrude huffed, attempting to regain moral high ground that had never existed in the first place. I've lived in Evergreen Estates for 30 years. My late husband was on the board of directors for this community. Aisha remained unfazed. Mrs. Hollister, we can continue this conversation at the station if you prefer. Your choice. That magic word, station, worked like a charm. Gertrude's shoulders slumped slightly as she reluctantly reached into her pocket and produced my Platinum MX. Fine, I found this. I was going to return it. Officer Chen carefully took the card, examining it before confirming Darrell J. Thompson, clearly printed on the front. Interesting way of returning it, I remarked. By using it to pay your car insurance. Gertrude's face flushed crimson. I did no such thing! How dare you! Aisha had already pulled out her phone. Officer Chen, please read me the card number. As Chen recited the 16 digits, Aisha typed them into what I recognized as our department's mobile database access. After a moment, she looked up. Mrs. Hollister, this card was used at 9:37 a.m. today to make a payment of $782.46 to Allstate Insurance. The payment was registered to policy number ALS 88872294, belonging to Gertrude A. Hollister of 4875 Oakage Lane. The transaction was flagged as fraudulent and declined. The blood drained from Gertrude's face. That must be some kind of mistake. Computers don't typically mix up 16-digit numbers, policyholders' names, and home addresses all at once, I pointed out. The system also shows 2 previous attempts this month using different cards belonging to... Aisha paused, scrolling. Through her phone. A James Chan on Maple Street and a Lakshmi Patel on Burwood Avenue. Dr. Jackson's eyes widened. The Patels mentioned their credit card was compromised recently. Gertrude was sputtering now, her carefully constructed facade crumbling by the second. This is profiling, persecution. I'm a respected member of this community. Credit card fraud is a felony, Mrs. Hollister, Aisha stated matter-of-factly, as is filing a false police report, which you've just done by calling 911 with fabricated claims. I want my lawyer. I know my rights. Gertrude was backing toward her own property now, as if the invisible property line might offer some magical protection. Officer Chen, please place your hands behind your back, the officer said. You're being detained pending investigation of credit card fraud. You can't be serious, she shrieked, looking wildly around for support. By now, several neighbors had emerged onto their porches, watching the spectacle unfold. Help! I'm being persecuted! No one moved to assist her. In fact, I noticed several. Neighbors filming the incident on their phones, probably for the neighborhood group chat that Gertrude had been kicked out of last year after posting racially insensitive comments about the Diwali celebration. As Officer Chen calmly explained her rights, Gertrude fixed me with a venomous glare. This is your fault. You people always stick together. I knew from the day you moved in, you'd bring down property values and cause trouble. Actually, I said, conversationally, since we moved in, property values in Evergreen Estates have increased by 12%. I track the market closely for investment purposes. Your house specifically has appreciated about $87,000, largely thanks to the renovation boom. Our arrival seemed to inspire. Aisha shot me a look that said, "Don't antagonize." But I couldn't help myself. 5 years of microaggressions and not-so-micro-racism deserved at least this small moment of satisfaction. As Officer Chen was securing the handcuffs gently. Given Gertrude's age, a sleek black Tesla pulled into the driveway across the street. Patricia Hollister, Gertrude's daughter, emerged looking confused and alarmed. "Mom? What's happening?" Patricia rushed over, her designer handbag swinging wildly. Unlike her mother, Patricia had always been cordial, if distant, with the neighbors. "Patricia, thank God. Tell them who I am. Tell them this is all a mistake," Gertrude cried out. Patricia surveyed the scene, her mother in handcuffs, a police captain, a crowd of neighbors, and my silver Lamborghini gleaming in the background like a silent witness to the whole affair. "What did you do now, Mom?" Patricia's voice carried a weariness that suggested this wasn't her first time dealing with her mother's situations. "Nothing. These people are persecuting me. They're trying to steal my house." Patricia closed her eyes momentarily as if gathering strength. "Captain Thompson, right? I think we met at the community center fundraiser last year. What's happened?" Aisha explained the situation professionally, showing Patricia the evidence on her phone. With each detail, Patricia's shoulders sank further. "Mom, you promised after the incident at Nordstrom that you'd stop this," Patricia said quietly. "What incident at Nordstrom?" several voices asked simultaneously. Patricia Hollister looked like she wanted the ground to swallow her whole. The evening air had grown cooler, but beads of sweat were visible on her forehead as all eyes turned to her. Gertrude, meanwhile, had gone from indignant to panicked. "Patricia, don't you dare! Family business is private," Gertrude hissed, straining against her handcuffs. Officer Chen had guided Gertrude to sit on the edge of my brick flower bed while they awaited a second patrol car. Aisha stood nearby, her notepad out, officially documenting everything for what was quickly becoming a much bigger case than a simple credit card theft. Patricia sighed deeply, looking at least a decade older than her 40-some years. 6 months ago, Mom was caught at Nordstrom using a credit card she'd taken from someone's purse in the ladies' room. The woman pressed charges, but Mom got a good lawyer and pleaded it down to a misdemeanor since it was supposedly her first offense. She did community service and promised to get counseling. "Patricia, how could you? After everything I've done for you," Gertrude wailed. "After everything you've done to me, you mean?" Patricia muttered, then turned to Aisha. "Captain, my mother has issues. She's been like this since my father died 3 years ago. She feels entitled to things because she believes the world has treated her unfairly." I couldn't help but interject. "Unfairly? She lives in a paid-off $1.2 million home and drives a luxury car. The Buick is 12 years old," Gertrude snapped, "and this neighborhood has gone downhill since you people moved in with your loud parties and foreign foods." "Mom," Patricia looked mortified, "our only party was our daughter's graduation, and it ended at 9 p.m., and I'm pretty sure you're the one who asked Mrs. Thompson for her jell-off rice recipe at the block party." Aisha raised an eyebrow at me. We both remembered Gertrude praising the rice to high heaven, then later telling Mrs. Patel it was spicy but edible if you're into that sort of ethnic food. The pieces were coming together now. Gertrude wasn't just a racist neighbor. She was a serial thief with a growing record. Her respectable widow persona had been her cover, and her constant complaints about new neighbors had been projection to deflect attention from her own misdeeds. Patricia turned to me with genuine remorse in her eyes. "Mr. Thompson, I am so sorry. I'll make sure the bank reverses any charges and cover any fees or inconvenience this has caused." Before I could respond, the second patrol car arrived. 2 officers emerged. One I recognized as Sergeant Williams, who often worked with Aisha. "Got yourself a live one, Captain?" Williams called as he approached. "Credit card fraud, false police. Report." "And we're discovering there may be previous incidents," Aisha replied professionally. Williams nodded. "We'll take her in for processing." "This is ridiculous. I'm not going anywhere in a police car like some common criminal." Gertrude struggled to stand, her face a mask of indignation. "You lost the right to that objection when you became an uncommon criminal, Mrs. Hollister," I said, unable to resist. Aisha shot me another warning look, but I caught the slight twitch at the corner of her mouth that signaled suppressed amusement. As the officers helped Gertrude toward the patrol car, she began crying. Not quiet tears, but theatrical sobs designed to attract maximum sympathy. "I'm just an old woman. My blood pressure. I could have a heart attack. Is that what you want?" "Mom has perfect blood pressure," Patricia said quietly to Aisha. "She brags about it at every checkup." Gertrude was still protesting as they helped her into the back of the patrol car. "You'll be hearing from my lawyer. I know people in this town. Chief Wilson will hear about this." Aisha leaned down to the car window. "Mrs. Hollister, Chief Wilson authorized this arrest personally when I called it in. He also mentioned something about you being asked to leave his wife's book club after suggesting Zora Neale Hurston wasn't a real American author." The look on Gertrude's face was priceless. Pure shock that her actions might actually have consequences. The patrol car pulled away, Gertrude's protests fading with the distance. The crowd of neighbors remained. The evening's entertainment apparently not quite over. Patricia stood awkwardly, clutching her designer bag like a shield. "I should follow them to the station," she said, her voice small. "This isn't her first time, but it's definitely the most public." "The most public so far," corrected Mrs. Jenkins from 2 doors down.